If you have topics you would like to have us discuss on the Aging Well podcast, please click on the links in the episode description to send us a text or record your message or comments. We'd love to hear from you and how we can help you age well. If you benefit from the Aging Well podcast and would like to support the content financially, please click on the Support the Show link or support our affiliates and advertisers. Welcome to the Aging Well podcast. I'm Jeff Armstrong here with Corbin Bruton. In this and the episodes that follow, we will share candid discussions on aging and hear from the experts. We are here to inform and encourage as we experience, well, aging. In this episode, we explore a topic that affects many older adults, overcoming barriers to exercise. Whether it's finding the time, lacking motivation, or fearing injury, we'll discuss strategies to help you get moving and age well.
Dr. Armstrong, you exercise regularly, but for a lot of aging adults, there are a lot of barriers to exercise. And I thought maybe we could discuss some strategies for overcoming these to get fit and to age well.
This is a great topic for the Aging Well podcast. And full disclosure, I face challenges myself, and I don't exercise near as much as I would like.
I do too. I guess everyone has their barriers to exercise. What are some common barriers to exercise?
Ranking up there among the most common barriers is time.
I don't think the listeners can see your air quotes around barriers. I sense that you don't think time is a legitimate barrier.
Do you?
Well, yes and no. No, in the fact that, if you go off of Arnold Schwarzenegger's quote is we got 24 hours in a day, and how well are you going to use it? And is exercise a priority? And are you going to punch that in as a priority? Are you going to put your health in a priority? Are you going to do that? But at the same time, I know that as an adult in a world where I'm involved in this activity over here and this event over there, and I have this work that's approximately an hour away. So that's 2 hours of driving each day. Yeah, I know that time can get a little hectic. And I know it's like, yeah, you got to work on time management. I think that we all do. But I think it comes down to what's a priority and what's important and what's hindering you from placing that to be a priority to slide into that time slot.
So what I'm hearing is that you don't think time is actually a barrier. It's our priorities, which are the barrier. And I always like the Arnold quote that if you're sleeping more than 6 hours, sleep faster, right? Now, that's not the healthiest recommendation. I mean, generally, most medical professionals will say, you want to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But you know what? If you can manage your sleep to get 6 good quality hours of sleep and you're getting restorative rest, then that has created now 2 hours more for you to be exercising. And so for a lot of people who claim that, that they don't have enough time because, they can't get enough sleep, they can't get up early or whatever, let's look at the time management and our sleep management, our sleep hygiene. What are we doing that maybe we're not getting enough sleep because we're doing other stuff? We're not, preparing our bodies and our minds to go to sleep. And so we don't wake up restored and then we don't exercise. And I just have real big issue with saying that time is a factor, because if you sit down and you really look at how you spend your time, you're going to find at least 30 minutes a day that you're just wasting time doing useless stuff. You're on Facebook, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, or you're playing video games or watching TV. Yeah, there are numerous things that we do during the day that could be better spent. And so it's a matter of managing that. And yeah, you might not get the most effective exercise. You can easily say, I don't have the time to train to be a professional athlete or a bodybuilder, because that takes a tremendous amount of time. And I always love how you see a lot of these videos of the Hollywood celebrities that, these are the workouts that they're doing, and they make it seem like they're just doing these short workouts. These people have nutritionists, they have trainers, and they're training the entire day in preparation for a movie because that's their friggin' job. It's not like they're trying to cram all it in and doing a 9 to 5 in the process, and they're coming out with these extraordinary bodies. It does take time to get to the extraordinary end of fitness. To get to the healthy side of fitness, it doesn't take that much time. And you can exercise, snack, a little bit more activity here and there. So you don't have time for cardio. Just move more as much as you can. Take 5, 10, 15-minute breaks throughout the day just to move. And then if you can squeeze in 30 minutes a day of resistance training, or even 30 minutes 3 times a week, you're going to get some benefit. So time is a bullshit excuse. I'm sorry.
Well, and to kind of go off of what you're saying, I think we could refer the listeners to whatever the episode was that we had the Klinowskis on, because they talked about some pro tips to help you get that deep REM sleep, to help with your circadian rhythm, to help with, you waking up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. And so you might not need that full 8 hours. You might hit that 7-hour mark and be totally fine because you're getting adequate sleep. You're getting deep sleep. I believe Dr. Farrow, in that episode, he touched on that same subject as well.
And Dr. Newstead as well in episode 152. So there are a lot of things that we can do to improve our sleep quality, and we need to investigate what is disrupting our sleep. Do we have disruptive sleep? Is it sleep apnea? Is it just that we're spending too much time on our electronic devices prior to going to sleep? We have too much stress in our lives. Our eating habits aren't good. Maybe we need a little bit more supplementation. Those types of things. Use that to manage our sleep. We get better quality sleep, then we're going to have a little bit more time during the day, a bit more energy to contribute towards that exercise. So I think it's really a matter of priority and opportunity cost. What do you prioritize the most, and what do you do with your time?
Well, priority and opportunity cost. Do you think one of the barriers could be energy levels? As because you mentioned a lot of people they're on Facebook, or they're on, they come home, and instead of going to the gym, they just kind of sit down and watch TV. And do you think it's because they've just given everything at their work or their gym, and they're like, oh my gosh, or not gym, sorry, work or whatever it is that they do throughout the day, that when it comes to going to the gym, they're like, man, I am just so exhausted. I just need a moment to just rest and decompress. And that moment turns into a very long one where that laziness or that tiredness comes in.
I would have to put my air quotes around exhaustion as well, because most of us, unless you are in a highly physical position, I mean, I can understand somebody who is a construction worker or having a job with high physical demands, coming home from work and just like, I'm just physically exhausted. But if you're sitting on your ass at a computer all day, and yeah, okay, we have some stress, and the stress, and I'm not saying that the stress is not draining our body battery, which is kind of how Dr. Farrell would have defined it with the pulse cure. We do have that kind of sympathetic, parasympathetic energy balance that needs to be addressed. But that's different than being just physiologically drained, where we just don't have the energy. I mean, come on, if you have some belly fat around you, you got energy in your body. You have some carbohydrate, you're overeating, and that's why you need to exercise. You have the energy. You may just lack the motivation and the wherewithal to get into that exercise. And for most of us, if we can just simply overcome that barrier, that resistance of I'm tired, I'm mentally exhausted, and just get out and do the exercise, you're going to feel so much more refreshed after that exercise. And so I wouldn't use that exhaustion as an excuse. I would use it as a prompt to exercise. If you're feeling that exhaustion because of your work and you're working a relatively sedentary job, you need to be looking at managing your stress, managing your sleep, and getting off your butt and doing some exercise and looking at your diet, what I can do to improve my diet in order to have better mental focus, better mental energy, better physical energy.
All right. So what do we do for people that lack motivation or exercise?
The first advice I would have is to know your why. I discussed my epigenetics test with True Diagnostic co-founder Hannah Wendt in episode 162. Epigenetic testing measures baseline and changes in your pace of aging, giving you the power to steer your anti-aging or health and wellness journey in the right direction. I learned that I am aging well. Click on the affiliate link in the episode description, use the promo code AGEWELL, and receive a 12% discount on your epigenetics test and monitor your pace of aging.
Okay. Why is it important for you to exercise?
Our reason for exercise or reasons for exercise are personal and individual.
So what about people who don't have a why?
I find it hard to believe that someone would not have a why. I believe that a lot of people don't exercise because they are focused on the why not. And we've talked about that a little bit about the why not, the excuses that we make for not exercising.
I love that. And that's really deep. We focus not enough on the why and the why not. Well, why can't you do that? Well, it's because of this, and I can't, and I can't, and I've used this quote several times on this podcast. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So quit focusing on why you can't do something and focus on why you need to and what's prompting you to. There's another quote that I say this several times throughout my week, and it's motivated me for the last, 20 plus years. And that's losers make excuses and winners make it happen. And stepping into that winner mentality and that mindset and not allowing the excuses to set in, like, I don't know. That is something that motivates me internally. Now, a lot of people, they're not as harsh on themselves, I guess you could say, but they need to have some internal motivation to keep going and hit those goals. Would you agree with that?
I like the Spencer Lee quote, excuses are for wusses.
Here we go.
It's like, I think we need to be a little bit harder on ourselves. We have become a society that's a little bit too gentle on ourselves. And not that we shouldn't, have a balanced approach to that, but, we've got to address the issues that are keeping us from being healthy and aging well.
So how do we encourage people to exercise who are hesitant or have lack of motivation?
We might begin by highlighting the importance of finding activities that are enjoyable and meaningful to the individual. So you might recall, I've talked in classes about how, people ask the question, what's the best cardio exercise to do? Well, the best cardio exercise to do is going to be the exercise that you'll do and do regularly. So everybody's best exercise is going to be a little bit different. And so find the things that are going to, keep you interested in exercise. And it might just be enough to kind of get you started. It might not be the best, the most optimal type of exercise, but simply moving, getting more physical activity. Exercise is one of the most addictive drugs that we don't take.
Ooh, man, that's good. I think in your classes, if I recall, you actually, one of the examples you use of just a tiny, tiny lifestyle change to help motivate an individual where they're really hesitant on exercise or they're fearful and they're like, I don't know if I want to do this. It's just one little tiny lifestyle change that they can do is if they're going to a grocery store or any other store, they just park at the farthest portion of the parking lot, right? Just those extra steps in. I know it seems silly and it seems tedious, but at the same time, it's one easy life decision where you're gaining those extra steps. And I just, ever since you taught that, it's such a simple gesture, but it will in return have a little bit of a snowball effect. It's kind of like a gateway decision into exercise, right?
Yeah, just finding, I mean, those little bites of exercise throughout the day. And we talk about exercise snacking. It doesn't even have to be a snack. It's just like a little nibble here and there.
Right.
Begins to add up quite a bit. And then we just have to simply look at what are the barriers that are getting in our way. And to do that, we really have to take an internal look. We have to take pause and say, okay, well, why am I not doing this? What's keeping me from doing this? And sometimes it might take somebody from the outside just helping you to kind of find that point. I remember once I had a opportunity to work with a colleague at Eastern Michigan University. She was one of the dietitians on campus, one of the nutrition faculty, and she's putting together a program to kind of work with women who were overweight and obese to help work together to kind of overcome these barriers and to exercise more effectively and lose the weight. So I got to participate, and there was one woman in particular that had a lot of issues that I was already aware of through her participation in some other research with me. But as she was going through this program, to watch her light bulb go off as she started to learn things that she could do to become more active. And one thing was, we were in the gym at the school, and we were showing them just some of the cardiovascular exercise equipment, how to use it. And she didn't know how to get on the bike. For her, she sees people, most of us will just kind of swing our leg up on the bike and we get on. And that didn't work for her because of her weight, and she just felt more awkward and self-conscious about doing it. I'm like, well, why don't you just kind of scoot up beside the bike, step onto the kind of the base of the bike, push your body up onto the seat and sit down. I can do that? So of course you can. So just modifying how she was going to get on the bike and understanding that how she gets on is going to be different than others was a huge light bulb for her. And another one was, she and her husband both had bikes. They'd love to be using them, but they live at the bottom of a hill, and it's a struggle for them to get the bike up the hill to get anywhere. And I was like, well, can you drive them up the hill and go to a place where it's going to be more level and more accessible? It's like, well, yeah, we can do that. Of course you can. Get in the car, drive the bikes to somewhere where you can actually use them. And it was just little things like that sometimes we just don't think about, that are small little barriers that we tend to make really large. And we take these molehills and make mountains out of them. And we just need to begin with those most affectable barriers, overcome those, get those obstacles out of the way. And then progressively we start working on the bigger and the bigger obstacles. But the small obstacles should not stop us from exercising.
Yeah, I knew one gal. She kind of had a mindset of, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't like that setting. It's not for me. I know I need to lose weight. I know I need to be healthy. And then one day she did like a nature walk or something. And she's like, wow, I like this. And then that one nature walk ended up being several hikes, and she became addicted to it. And what ended up being just a couple miles ended up being 8 miles, 9 miles, 10 miles. And she would go on these hikes, and she'd end up downloading an app, and she was able to kind of record her trails that she would go through. And it was cool, obviously, because at the end of each trail, there's obviously a summit or a viewpoint. So you're getting that instant gratification, but it was something that was helping her stay motivated to move. And she was prioritizing it because she was getting outdoors and she was seeing, and it was becoming easier and more fun. And the the inclines weren't as intimidating because she's done it once before, so she can do it again. And then there was a summit and there was a beautiful view. And what's that view going to look like during summertime versus wintertime? And I'm pretty sure she ended up losing over 80 pounds just by changing the mindset of, I don't want to work out I want to go hiking. That's something I love. I love being outdoors. Just those little tiny lifestyle changes. It can have a huge impact on your overall fitness.
Yeah, success begets success.
It is important to emphasize goals, though.
Yeah, encouraging setting realistic goals and tracking our progress to stay motivated.
So we discussed the importance of social connectiveness for aging well. It is helpful to discuss the benefits of exercising with a friend or joining group classes for social support and accountability.
Absolutely. And of course, some of us prefer to exercise alone. What about you?
Hit and miss. Yeah, I love going with a workout buddy. I feel like my workout buddy really pushes me. It also this is the most important part, though. With my workout buddy, I have to have someone that actually knows what it is that they're doing, and they have an eye to say, hey, you're losing your form, you're losing your technique, focus on this right here. If you have a workout buddy who's just there and they're not really paying attention, or they're not motivating you, or they're not in that friendly competition to push you, then you might as well just do it on your own.
Yeah, I've not had tremendous success, probably since high school, with workout buddies, people just not being reliable and all that kind of stuff. And then having been a trainer for so many years, I hate going to the gym because I'm going to be watching everybody else lifting and I want to interject and give it, advice and coaching and things like that. And I'm just like, no, I like going to my garage and doing my workouts on my own. I'll get my social interaction through other sources.
I also, in workout classes, if whoever I'm next to, either the right or left of me, whatever we're doing, I'm doing one more rep than them. It's just that extra competition just keeps me motivated.
The important thing is to establish an environment of support that drives success.
Well, I think it's also important to emphasize the positive impacts of exercise on mood, energy levels, and overall well-being.
Yeah, I've always said that exercise is like the guy who's hitting himself in the head with a 2x4. When he asked why he does it,
because it feels so good when I stop.
Okay, Forrest.
So what about people, especially the older exercisers, who are afraid to exercise for fear of injury?
Provide reassurance about the safety of exercise when done properly and with proper guidance. Encourage starting with low impact activities and gradually increasing intensity as confidence and strength improve. Discuss the importance of a proper warm-up, stretching, and using appropriate equipment to reduce the risk of injury. And highlight the role of professional guidance from qualified fitness instructors in designing safe and effective exercise routines.
And of course, always seek clearance from your doctor.
Yeah, and of course, we've talked about that. Make sure your doctor is supportive of exercise. You can find doctors that just don't really believe in exercise, and they may not be so willing to clear you. You might need to get a different doctor. And, just keep in mind that exercise is healthy when done properly and under the right supervision.
If you have a doctor that actually prescribes exercise as a health factor instead of just medication, then we give that a big thumbs up. Yeah. There's also a lot of bad information on the internet, and I've noticed that you emphasize qualified fitness instructors.
Yeah, there is so much crap out there, and sometimes trainers are well-intentioned but poorly informed. And I hope we are doing a sufficient job on this podcast of addressing common myths and misconceptions about aging and exercise, such as the belief that it's too late to start or that exercise is only for the young.
Yeah, that's true. We try to provide evidence-based information about the benefits of exercise for older adults, including improved mobility, cognitive function, and overall quality of life.
We have had some occasion to highlight inspiring stories of older adults who have achieved significant health benefits through regular exercise. I'd like to do more of this.
Well, wouldn't we all, though?
Yeah, we would. And hopefully, if we have guests that are, wanting to share their stories, feel free to click on the link in the episode description and, send us a little voice message and maybe we'll get you on the podcast.
I think we should also remind the listeners of the importance of adapting exercises routines to individual abilities and preferences rather than adhering to a one-size-fits-all approach. So to those listeners that would like to share their insight and experiences or overcoming challenges, take on Dr. Armstrong's advice of clicking the link and leaving a message for us. We'd love to hear from you.
Now, personal stories can be powerful motivators for listeners who have faced similar obstacles. And of course, the listeners should seek help and support from healthcare professionals, community resources, and supportive loved ones as they embark on their journey to overcome barriers and embrace an active lifestyle.
So in conclusion, if you are in the mindset of, I can't do this, this is just an excuse, I don't have enough time, I'm too overweight, I'm too tired, I'm this, I'm that, change your mindset. Quit focusing on why you can't do something and start prioritizing why you can do it. It can be something as simple as parking as far at the opposite end of the parking lot and walking your way to all the way down to the grocery store. It could be something of, hey, you know what? I'm going to take up a hobby of gardening. I'm going to join a hiking club. I'm going to join a small section of beginning exercises, one-on-one class. Whatever it is that motivates you to get out, to move, we strongly recommend it, because by doing so, you're making the right decisions to not just help your current self, but down the road, your future self, and you are helping yourself to age well.
Age well. Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast. And until next time, keep aging well.